Hey, Discernment listeners, sister wives, let's watch.
We had an appointment at the doctor to hear the heartbeat. And, you know, I was at about 10 weeks and we were so excited. We went in and they couldn't hear the heartbeat.
And the doctor just said, this is not a viable pregnancy.
Okay, so they're speaking in more detail about the miscarriage that we have heard referred to that Mary has been through, and it was hard for both of them. So to get you up to date on what happened in this episode, I'm skimming more now. Earlier in this episode, they're looking for a house, and they're trying to qualify for the loans and whatnot. And Cody cried a lot about how they have had a lot of heartbreak about not getting the right house they wanted. And then there was a conflict about the family business that they're trying to form. And Janelle was saying to, I'm looking at my notes, was saying to Cody, why do I have to sell the idea of this business to you, or the decision to you? You know, why are you the dictator of this situation? So, you know, it was a notable part of the conversation, but let's move forward.
Yeah.
Hey, there's rough stuff going on.
Thanks. Okay.
You hear?
No.
So I say, Hunter's been arrested for being out past curfew with alcohol.
Hunter got arrested.
Hunter freaking got arrested.
You're kidding me.
No, he had out.
Oh, the idiots.
So to get you up to date, they are visiting Lehi, Utah again, where they grew up, and they're missing it, the older kids. And on April Fool's, they decided to play a April Fool's joke on Mariah, I think her name is, and they said that one of the other kids got drunk, and then she does that, which is interesting. I wouldn't April Fool's people in this way. I also wouldn't do it on camera like that. To me, the best April Fool's jokes are light and brief, meaning that you do something that isn't completely devastating to someone, like telling them that their parents died in a car crash, right? Or that, because to them, I think one of their siblings disappearing because of substance use is a really big deal. Not to say that it's not a big deal to a lot of people, but and also they're not immediately telling her April Fools, like they're letting it breathe, because the longer this because you could actually traumatize people, literally. I have had clients and friends who have, because at this point Mariah believes this to be true, and her neurons believe it to be true. Certain neurological realities start to occur that can cause changes. Anyway, so to catch you up, also there have been there's been a few episodes. There were Valentine's Day, and then also the kids had a daddy-daughter Valentine's dance, and also there was more home buying problems. Then there was another episode where Cody spent time with his 3 brothers, and they went out on the town AUB style, and also more home buying disappointments. And then there was, in this episode, I've already been over it.
I texted Mariah's mom, Mary, telling her to tell Mariah that we had to go home, that the trip was kiboshed. So Mariah gets the text, and she's mad already.
We have to come home
Yeah, Mom, Dad kiboshed the trip.
because of you?
April Fool!
Okay, they let that one breathe way too long. But I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see Mariah's reaction. It's notable. I don't know what it means.
Are you getting serious?
You get burned when you get serious.
Are you kissing her?
Very smart.
I have. No.
Kisses have a price.
You
Okay?
being careful? You being careful?
What's that supposed to mean?
All right, so to get you up to speed, I watched another episode and then another one, and it was about Mary still wanting to have more kids, and now they're talking about the older kids possibly dating other people, and they're finding out that Logan, the oldest, has kissed someone, which is not in line, I believe, with the AUB way. I don't know if there's a hard rule about that, but my understanding is, I think they even said this, that during the courting, you can't kiss, you can't have any physical contact until you're married, I think. But they seem to have a pretty relaxed attitude about Logan having kissed someone. Okay.
I mean, what about Aspen and Addie and Mariah and
We're gonna
Kelty?
get to them.
I just hang out. The last time I was alone with a boy was on accident.
The obedient daughter right there.
Okay, so one of the daughters, I'm forgetting her name, I think that's Mariah, but the other daughter was saying, we just hang out, meaning that we don't get physical. And then Mariah says, the last time I was alone with a boy was on accident. And then the dad says, that's the obedient one. Okay. Well, is it obedience, or is it just kind of random, or is she a romantic or asexual or demi-romantic, or is she gay or something? There's that the way that I heard it, there's a lot of possibilities. Could be obedience, yeah, but it could be a lot of things. I'm guessing that. Well, I don't know. Maybe she is. Maybe she is particularly. I'm trying to remember what I know about Mariah. I seem to remember one of the kids was pretty into the religion. Yeah, I don't have any notes on Mariah. I think Mariah was particularly upset about was it moving, or was it Robin or something? Anyway, and then the prank a few episodes ago they played on Mariah. She took it pretty hard that she had been told as a April Fool's that Hunter had been out drinking. She was, pretty upset. Maybe all the kids would have been. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying the fact that she has only been alone with a boy on accident, that doesn't mean she's obedient. That's all I'm saying.
Whoever he is. Yeah.
No. There's a lot of times when everybody's kind of in a good spot.
I don't know. I
I
guess from your I'm not mad at you right now.
Are you mad at me right now?
Oh, I kind of am. Sorry. Dang it.
Shoot.
I'm not mad.
I think monogamous guys kind of look at it like, hey, my wife's mad at me all the time, but they get to a place where they don't care, and I can't live that way because I need...
Yeah, I like these episodes where they answer questions from the fans, because they often are prompted to talk about things that I'm wondering about. And, we just saw an interaction. It didn't look particularly notable. There's some conclusions I might be able to speculate about, but I don't know. They don't really get into detail. But at the very least, it's consistent with previous ways that they talk, where Cody seems to be more optimistic or will claim more optimistic ways of looking at things. Like, we don't fight that often, whereas the sister wives will say, that's not true. We did see a particularly interesting face on Robin. I don't know if that's because the previous question affected her or something, but the other sister wives were having fun with this question, like, yeah, we get upset with him a lot of the time. And Robin just seemed almost angry about the whole thing. And then when Cody asked her, let's rewind that. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So it's that time of year again. It's September, back to school, time to learn new things. And if you're a fan of this podcast, then I'm guessing you like to learn new things. But you might find that although you've learned a lot, you have a hard time applying this knowledge to better your life. This can be frustrating, you might know why you have a particular psychological issue, but you don't know how to use that knowledge to work on the issue. Well, that's where therapy comes in. A therapist can help you see how this knowledge applies to you specifically. And therapy also just gives you the time to focus on yourself outside of daily stressors. Well, one place you can find a therapist is at BetterHelp. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, it's definitely worth checking out BetterHelp. So rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
Okay.
I don't know if there ever is.
No, there's a lot of times when everybody's kind of in a good spot.
I don't know.
I
I
guess
guess from your
I'm not mad at you right now.
Are you mad at me right now?
Oh, I kind of am. Sorry. Dang it.
Shoot. So
Yeah, there. And then when Christine says, well, I'm kind of mad at you, dang it, the other sister wives are, Janelle and Mary are just like, oh, yeah, what? Isn't that funny? And maybe it is kind of a light thing-ish. And then Robin seems, something else is going on with Robin. I could interpret this a number of different ways. It's all speculation. But one is that Robin has a problem with Christine, and this is evidence of that Robin just can't muster the courtesy laugh, because she's like, well, in her head, she's thinking, well, Christine's always mad at Cody, or it's always about Christine or something. I don't know. Or another possibility is that Robin believes that the way they talk about conflict is not the way she likes to. She has that look like of an outsider the way they do this, I don't like to participate. Or another possibility is that she doesn't like how conflictual everyone is, and she just doesn't like this topic because she just doesn't like that kind of tension and is frequently upset. Like, yeah, you guys are always fighting and laughing about it, and then fighting and laughing. It's kind of sick, or I don't know. I suppose there's other possibilities, but something's definitely going on with Robin, because if she were just neutral, that'd be one thing, but there seems to be something deeper. By the way, with the rest of this, they talked about the dating thing, and then they talked about how the kids liked it when they all lived together back in Lehigh. They miss the other siblings, which is interesting. And they also said that they don't get to see Cody anymore, which is something that, of course, is an outgrowth of the situation, but hasn't been discussed. And I haven't really thought about that, because each of the sister wives are like, yeah, we don't see him as much as we used to, but particularly for the kids, right? Yeah, when you really think about it, it's almost like worse than divorce, because in divorce, at least there's like equal time often, but they went from seeing dad basically all the time to only seeing him 25% of the days. And maybe even on those days, he's spending most of his time going on date night, to capitalize on that, and so the kids might not see him hardly at all. That's interesting to think about, how it's just like he's there for years and years, and all of a sudden he's barely there ever. Yeah. And then they also talked about how they had courted, before Robin, Cody had courted another woman, and the three sister wives were cool with her, but through the courting process, they decided that this other woman wasn't a good fit, and so they pulled the plug. They decided not to move ahead with a marriage, which was interesting to hear that would happen, and that they have a sort of a standard, I suppose. And so presumably Robin met those criteria that the other woman didn't.
Monogamous guys kind of look at it like, hey, my wife's mad at me all the time, but they get to a place where they don't care, and I can't live that way because I need harmony in these relationships.
One of the things that I saw with my
So there's that harmony word. That would have gone right over my head before, but after interviewing Christine Preer, the former member of AUB, I now know that word means a lot. It's not just the word harmony. It's a part of a larger dogmatic notion that in order to get into the celestial kingdom, you have to have harmony among the sister wives and in the family. Every relationship has to have harmony, and everyone has to be in harmony. And this makes me wonder about how much freedom they have to voice their feelings, to get into conflict, that kind of thing.
My parents living in plural marriage was that my mom put aside a lot of her pettiness, and she really made it about what he did right, because she didn't have a lot of time to fight. As far as my relationship with Cody, that's what I try to do, is I try to not bring up dumb little things.
I don't know, but it sounds like, in terms of the sequence, that Robin is saying that to them, to the other sister wives. It would explain the face. I wonder if this is part of the ongoing. She's just like, you guys get up in arms about dumb stuff, and I don't like it. I don't like the way you treat Cody, or I don't like the fact that you bring up dumb stuff about me, or whatever. Maybe Robin is rational to have this point of view. You know, it's possible. It's also possible that she's somewhat rational, somewhat irrational, based on her upbringing, that women are supposed to suppress their feelings, or I don't know. There's just a lot of possibilities. But I think that, it would be typical for someone, if they are having a reaction, and I'm just looking at body language and facial expression, which is a pretty poor indicator of, or it's hard to know what is meant by it. But my speculation is that she had some kind of this topic of conflict. I don't like it. I don't like the way they talk about it. And then the first chance she gets, she basically brings up this point as a passive way of saying something about the other sister wives. I don't know.
You have to exploit the things that are wonderful and ignore the things that are not. Does that work?
Yeah, and I won't go down a whole boring rabbit hole, but there can be a lot of functionality and wisdom and health to having at least some way of putting things aside. It depends on the relationship, depends on the style, depends on what people want, but addressing every single issue that deserves to be addressed can take a toll and will take up too much time, create too much negativity, and also give no flexibility to individual reactions. A lot of the time, if you wait a few days, something's happening and it's just like, I can't take it anymore. And, I'm not saying you're supposed to suppress, but I'm saying, because obviously, no, and people should address things, but sometimes it can help if you give it a few days, or maybe even just one day, 24 hours, and then think about it, because sometimes our reactivity, our triggering is such that we're not seeing, one, it might be hard to work things out when you're triggered. Two, we might even be looking at the problem in a very exaggerated way. If it's a problem, it'll be a problem in 3 days as well. Hopefully when you look back on it, you won't have just suppressed it entirely so that it's inaccessible. You'll still see it, but the initial rawness will have dissipated to some extent. And if it's still an issue, then that's a good indicator of like, okay, well, this can't be ignored. Now, I'm not saying you're always that, I'm not saying that after 3 days you look back and it doesn't really feel like that big of an issue. I'm not saying you're supposed to ignore it at that point. But I have, in the beginning of my career as a marital therapist, as a couples therapist, and also as a human being, I had a principle that everything should be addressed. And over time, I have learned that that principle, that policy can cause a lot of problems. And sometimes it's just better overall to let some things go. I'm not a fan of promoting suppression and letting things go, especially since a lot of things can't be let go. But research shows, John Gottman and colleagues found that something like 60% of the conflicts that you have with your partner, and these are relationships that lasted and were, on the side of things with a lot of satisfaction, that 60% or something, a high degree of the conflicts that occur in a marriage will never be resolved. Like that one or two or three things that really bug you about your partner, on average, there's a certain percentage of those things that will never resolve. You'll never get your partner to really understand what you're saying, or you'll never get them to change in that way. Now, every case is different, and I'm not saying that if your partner is abusing you or cheating on you or, I don't know, mistreating you, not listen, there's different degrees of problems, right? Like if they never listen to you ever or never validate you, that's a bigger deal than if they don't pick their socks up off the bedroom floor, or they're not as mindful about finances in a way that isn't totally destructive or something like that. There's differing degrees, but those little things that start really bugging you. So the conclusion is that the expectation of every conflict working out apparently isn't shown in the data. Really successful marriages will still have a lot of conflicts that never resolve, is the point. So I learned over time in my personal life and clinically that there needs to be a balance between what you address and what you don't address. So I don't know what they're saying. Are they saying that, or are they saying we sweep everything under the rug? I don't know. The fact that the four of them existed for something like 16 years, at least reportedly relatively well, then I'm going to guess that it's the former, but I don't know.
So we got 30 days that we've got to do an entire laundry list of things in order to basically finance these homes. And we've got 30 days to do it. And we lit that fuse on the bomb, and the bomb bay doors have opened, and we're just getting prepared to drop it.
I mean, you don't light fuses on bombs in bombers, but whatever. As someone that watches a lot of documentaries about World War II, I mean, I assume that's what he's talking. Anyway, so to catch you up, this is the end of season 5 or 4, and they answered questions about, I think, Viagra that were from the audience. This final episode, Logan is going to college, and half of this season was about where they're going to live and all the trials and tribulations, the loan issues and the layout. There was conflict because Mary wants I don't know if it's an equal size house, but a pretty big house. And everyone's like, including Mary herself, she's like, well, I only have one kid and that kid's leaving soon. So why would I, whereas, Janelle and Christine has, how many kids? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with a very young child and with Truly, my dogs are barking. Janelle has, Logan will be moving out, but Madison, Hunter, Garrison, Gabriel, Savannah, so that's 5 kids at home. And, and Mary acknowledged it. She would say, I understand why it doesn't seem fair, but Mary was like, but I want, like, what'd she say, like a crafting room, and I want an office, and Janelle, I think, was particularly upset about it. They seem to work it out, and now they've established, so they've, I don't know if you can see, but the real estate agent is there in the middle, and then all 4 of the wives, and then Cody's doing like a victory lap, which makes him look, I don't know, youthful. That's one word for it. But yeah, it's pretty lucky that they found an open cul-de-sac end just for them, right? And would certainly make it a lot easier for them to get back to the way things were when they were in Utah. I mean, there's still a bit of a barrier because they're in different houses, but they're a lot closer, even though their current rentals were, a half a mile, within walking distance. Essentially, they were living across town because it's hard to pack everyone in the car and drive over. Anyway, so this will, I think, help the kids get back to the way things were, and maybe help them all work together. And also maybe this will help integrate Robin a little bit. That's something I hadn't thought about. So they've been with Robin's been in the family for 2.5, maybe 3 years, and they've never lived with Robin or the kids. So Robin is still very much of an outsider, right? So that would challenge the integration, which I've been kind of worried about, actually, because from the very beginning, that to truly integrate Robin and her kids into the family, a lot of really intentional planning would have to take place. A lot of talking and a lot of emotions, a lot of sharing, a lot of adjusting. And I don't see a lot of evidence of that. And also the fact that they don't live with her doesn't really facilitate that. I don't know. Plus, the other sister wives all entered the family prior to any kids being around. So they had the freedom and the space to get to know each other and bond before heading into any kind of potential conflicts or establish their roles, or I don't know. But yeah, what else is that? That's all in my notes that I've been taking here. Let's see. Yeah. So I also wonder how much production financed this, because given how much money I think they make, which they don't disclose, buying 4 individual houses in Las Vegas, I can't imagine that adding up, because my impression was the house they lived in Utah and Lehigh was relatively inexpensive, and it was just one house. They're now going to 4 homes, 4 full houses, brand new homes that haven't been built yet, right? Maybe they're getting kind of a deal, because I think when you buy a house, sight unseen, then the contractors will give a deal, because they're just like, well, we don't have to put up the money to make these houses. You're pre-buying it without seeing it, but you're also giving us the capital to actually build the thing, pay the labor and everything. So we'll give you a discount on that. I don't know. It's neither here nor there. It would make sense that production, the Duggars, that TV show, the production paid for them to finish that giant house because the production had an interest, and I guess production would have a massive interest in this. They want interactions happening, and also it saves on transporting to every home. If something's happening next door, they can just bop right over there with the cameras and stuff. So it would make financial sense to do that. But one could argue the only reason why they're faced with this is because they were on a reality TV show, which made the family parent, because then the law and the press descended on them and made them worried that they were going to go to jail because of Utah being particular about polygamy. So they're only in Vegas because of the show. Anyway, so yeah. Interesting things happened this season. Christine and Robin, there was a scene in which they made up, but there was some evidence that Robin is still very much on the outside. We saw some parenting evidence, but yeah. So I am going to skim like this in future seasons. So I'm really curious. From what I understand, a lot of shit goes down, and I think someone said starting season 14. I want to get there as fast as I can, so I'm going to speed this fucker up. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it. You really, really do.